What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young, host of the #1 ranked show. Thank you for watching on the Fox Sports app, YouTube, or listening wherever you get your podcast. Today, we're going to give you day 2 of our day at Big Ten Media Days, where I got to speak with Ryan Day about the maturation of CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I have a one-on-one sit-down with CJ about his journey from high school to being the starting quarterback at Ohio State. That and more in this episode. Can't wait for you to watch and or listen to it. I'm pleased to be joined by Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud. CJ, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to talk with you. I believe this is the first time that we have been able to speak, but I got to know your mom through your recruitment and through your journey to Ohio State, and she was kind enough to give me a question to ask you. I'm going to hand you my phone.
Okay.
Could you read that aloud for us?
Want me from the top?
No, just her.
Okay. She says, maybe how he mentally prepares for games, keeps himself focused and motivated.
I asked her what I should ask you.
Okay.
And that was the prompt. So let's start with that. Answer your mom's question. How do you stay focused and motivated?
I think how she raised me. I think she raised me like in the old school sense. I grew up in the church for a while, and she was the first lady, and a lot of stuff didn't go, and it was strict. So, I mean, that's kind of the reason why I am humble and I am the way I am, is because I have that foundation from my mother and my father. They set that as a young age, and just my faith. And God has called me to do great things, and it's not me, it's him. So she's always taught me that, give him the glory and the praise. And just staying focused is something that I've had to learn throughout the process, because it is tough. You have a lot of people pulling at you and different things like that. But just staying grounded on what you believe in, and just understanding, keeping the main thing has definitely kept me focused, and just having my faith in great people around me.
I love that your mama was first lady at the church, because she carries herself that way in conversations. And one of the things she's done for you is set you up with whatever it is you were trying to do. One of the things you were trying to do was get to the opening regional in Oakland. Could you tell us a story about how you found out what the opening was and how you convinced your mom to drive you to Oakland so that you could perform?
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, I grew up watching the Elite 11 and watching the opening, and just seeing like all the great players that end up going to college and then going to the NFL and being great. And that was a goal of mine, so I wanted to do it. And at the time, I didn't have the resources to get there, or like the recognition or the media or anybody really looking at me at the time. So I definitely wasn't too finding out to go, and I was like, I didn't know if I should go. But Coach Stumpf, his name is Brian Stumpf, he's the Elite 11 director, and he texted me. He was like, come on up, and I was like, cool. But there was only one issue. I didn't have no way of transportation. At the time, me and my family couldn't afford the flight, but my mom, she did her best, and she sacrificed her going to work, and she put up some money, and we drove all the way up, and we had a great time, just me and her and my sister, just like old times. I mean, I missed them days, to be honest with you, but we go up there, and I'm up there with other quarterbacks like DJ Ugalele, and then Ethan Garber's at UCLA now, and I'm up there competing with them and having a good time. And even then, I wasn't invited to the camp, but I talked to a couple of guys, and they were pretty promising of me maybe getting one of the last invites, and by the glory of God, I was able to get that.
And from that invite, I see your recruiting start to take off. To lay it out for people, you were ranked, I believe, 841st in the country,
Really?
Right? Before you started to make your rise. You get to Frisco, and then what happened?
When I get to Frisco, and the first thing I did was pray. And I was like, God, whatever you want me to do, just let me do it, and I'm going to give you all the glory and praise, and just give me confidence. And that's what he did. And I go out there. The first day, I was kind of nervous, a little rusty. And then that second day, we had pro day. And then I think I broke the record. I think I broke Tua's record at the pro day with 50 points, and had a pretty good day. And that's what I needed just in my life, just to give me that confidence. And after that, I go in my hotel room, I go to sleep, I wake up the next morning, getting ready for 7-on-7, and I get a ring on my phone, and it's Coach Day, and he texts me. He's like, hey, CJ, I want to introduce myself. I'm head coach at The Ohio State University. And I just got on my knees, I prayed again. And so just after that, I just felt like I was called to do this. And after Frisco, I even got I ended up winning the MVP after the 7-on-7 play, and that was great for me and great for my confidence as well. And then after that, I got even more offers, more recognition, more publicity, more media. And I think that was something that definitely rocket shipped my life.
Coach Dilfer tells everybody we've never had someone score 50 points in this competition. Then you get your call from Coach Day. You find out you win Elite 11 MVP. When did you think or know you were going to accept your offer from Ohio State?
I have so many stories that like I don't have any like I can think of now, but I have a lot of ways just like things were kind of just popping up in my life to have me choose Ohio State. I definitely think that was from prayer. 'Cause I had no clue where I wanted to go. So many great schools, so many great coaches, so many great people at these universities that I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I just asked God, just give me signs, please. And I'll give you a funny story. So I'm at school one day, and my principal, his name is Mr. Wilborn, and he calls me to his office. And this usually doesn't happen. So I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. Let me just go over here and see what you're talking about. And he gives me like 3 things, and he drops in my hand. And I look, and it's buck nuts now. I know now. But I'm like, Mr. Wilborn, what are these? He's like, oh, these are buck nuts. Like, I'm like, oh, that's a sign from God, like to go to Ohio State. And I was like, okay, I need probably 3 or more signs. And luckily I got those signs, and I think I made the right decision.
I think so too. You also joined in with a vaunted recruit in Jack Miller. You guys both sit behind Justin Fields. You get to watch him work. What did you learn in your redshirt year and helped you propel into your redshirt freshman year?
Right. Yeah, definitely was amazing for me. Even at the time I didn't know it, just to sit that year and just to learn, just to soak up what Justin knew and what Coach Day was willing to do with me. And then, of course, being there with Jack. And Jack is my brother. I definitely appreciated him when he was here, and I do appreciate him now. And it was good for both of us to come in together and just learn from each other. And there wasn't any bad blood or ill will. We came in as brothers, and we left as brothers. So definitely a good friend of mine, but it definitely taught me a lot just to sit behind and just realize it wasn't my turn yet, and just to work hard. And I prepared every week like a starter, but I didn't get my opportunity. But luckily, I mean, I think it panned out.
I think so. You are the starter against Minnesota. I was at that game. I get to see you put on those colors and go to work. What did you learn about yourself in that game that helped propel you through the rest of the season?
I think that game kind of just showed a little glimpse of my life and my childhood, in a sense, just perseverance. I mean, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I don't think I played terribly in the first half. It wasn't comfortable yet. I haven't played football in 2 years. I haven't been tackled in a while. You know what I mean? So just get my feet back in the water. And then once I felt comfortable, but luckily, I mean, I just have great teammates. I have great leadership last year, and they had the most respect for me and the most confidence in me, and that gave me confidence. So just going back out there in that second half and just having fun. I think that's what it was mostly about, just having fun again, and that's what I did.
I felt you did a lot of learning because you had to in that 2021 season. The home loss to Oregon and then the loss to the team up north. How did that hurt, and how did that affect you going forward?
For me, I think it was 2 failures in my life that I hold near and dear to my heart to this day. And I think for me, I always say a failure that you don't learn from is an L. A failure that you learn from is a W. So I just try to use it as my own and just realize that those are 2 learning points in my life. And I'll use those for the rest of my life just to those are precious moments that I'll never get back. But I'm working for the next moment that I will get, and that I'll never let that happen again, hopefully.
You had some fighter jets out there on the perimeter for you. You got one coming back in Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you finished last year as a Heisman finalist. You'll start this year as a Heisman frontrunner. How are you dealing with the pressure of knowing you have guys on the outside that can do it for you, and people are expecting you to lead Ohio State back to a national championship game?
For me, I mean, I just try to just kind of turn down all the outside noise and just listen to my coaches, listen to my mother, listen to my family, listen to my close friends, and I think that's all really that matters. Of course, I do listen to Buckeye Nation as well, but I think at the end of the day, I got to go out there and do it, and it's up to me. So I just try to just have confidence in myself and just remain humble and just stack days. I think if I can go 1-0 a day, work hard, and 1-0 a week, 1-0 a game, whatever the case may be, just go 1-0 in that moment, I think all those things will happen.
My last one for you, CJ. What do you tell the kids who are not being heavily recruited, who are seeking an opportunity?
As a kid, I was told a very vital piece of information and advice by my father was comparison is a thief of joy. And I definitely hold that near and dear to my heart, because if you compare yourself to others, then you'll have no joy. And in this lifestyle of social media nowadays and things like that, luckily I wasn't able to have a phone till high school. So I thank my mom for her old school ways back then. But those taught me to not compare myself to others. So just God has a unique plan for your life, and he made you in his way, so he's going to make your path in his own way. So just trust that, and just remember that God's going to test you before he gives you what you want. So that was what I would tell somebody who was younger.
CJ Stroud, quarterback at the Ohio State University. Thank you so much for taking time.
RJ. Appreciate you.
I'm pleased to be joined by Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
I'm always appreciative of your time. I wanted to start with this, Coach. How does it feel to not have to go through a quarterback derby in 2022?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. This is actually the second time, I think, maybe in my career where we've had a quarterback for 2 years in a row. So that's exciting. It's been great. CJ's had a really good offseason. But it's also been good to have the other guys and build them up. And CJ and Devin both have had good off seasons. So looking forward to having a good preseason with those guys.
It is a stacked quarterback room, as it seems that it has been since you arrived at Ohio State. What do you keep telling the guys to keep them engaged?
Well, I think it's about the development, and we take a lot of pride in that every day we're going to challenge you with really good scheme, teach you about defensive structure, teach you about route progressions, and we're going to have you part of a great scheme, and it's very quarterback friendly. And so everybody's developing every day, and a lot of it has to do with what goes on in the meeting room, but a lot of it has to do with what goes on in the field.
CJ's a known commodity now. Didn't really know what you're going to get out of him until Minnesota, and then steadily progressed, and we saw him in the season as a Heisman finalist. What's the next step for him?
Well, this is year 2, and at this point last year, like you said, he'd never thrown a college pass, so we didn't know anything about CJ, and then he kind of found his way and found his stride about midway through last year, and then really played some great football down the stretch. And so I think the thing for him, he probably would say, is just the fact that he was just trying to complete his first pass, trying to get his first. Everything was new. Everything was first. That's not going to be the case this year. And when you're doing that, you're just so focused on yourself. Excellent leadership skills, always has. But I think after a year of off-season and leadership work in the weight room, he sees it from a bigger view now and sees it from the defense and the running game and the line and obviously, in the pass game. So I think when you take that approach to it, it really helps you as a leader.
I'm genuinely impressed with how you handled his growth and really giving him room to just, he's playing football for the first time in a very long time. It hasn't been hit in 2 years. And you trusted him and you trusted yourself to get him ready. But on the other hand, I also saw these, let's call them F-18s out there on the perimeter for you. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And to those two guys' credits that went in the first round of this year's draft, hey, the kid, that's the one you need to be paying attention to. And then we got to see that in a tremendously big way in the Rose Bowl. Got to say, did you see that coming, or is it always been there? What happened with Jackson Smith and Jigba to be that guy?
It was always kind of there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that first year, CJ and Jackson kind of worked together a little bit on the scout team and kind of got some familiarity with each other. But Jackson's very easy to throw to. He has great body language, in and out of cuts, creates space. And so they have a good connection together. And so it's great to now have him in his third year, take that leadership role. I think he's had a great offseason. And I think that whole room still is going to be a strength of our team.
Guy that helped you put together that room, wide receiver coach Brian Hartline, has been absolutely blazing on the recruiting trail, but also in developing these players in a way that, frankly, I haven't seen, I want to say going back to 2007, the kind of output that you've had, at least as far as the NFL is evaluating. What has he done to help you get better with wide receivers?
Oh, he's helped, first off, credibility. He played at Ohio State. Credibility, he played in the NFL. And he wasn't someone, he had speed, he had good athleticism, but a big part of his game was just understanding how to play the game, understand how to set up set up DBs, how to run routes, his preparation. And so that really is a great makeup for a coach. And so I think the guys really recognize that, and he has credibility with them. But he's also very gifted. He really understands how to recruit, how to connect with people, works really, really hard. Sometimes when you make that transition, a player to coach, there's a little bit of a transition, just an understanding of how many hours it takes, how much work it takes. He made that transition pretty quickly, and he's got a very bright future ahead of him.
Defensively, I've been high on Jack Sawyer because it's hard not to be, knowing what he was capable of at Pickerton North. What's the step for him in that defensive line this year?
Well, I think our D-line is going to be as deep as it's been in a long time. I think, when you look at them line up in that first game, they'll look a lot different than they did last year, and that's the goal. Jack's really done a great job with his body. He looks strong. He's had a really strong offseason. So is JTT. It's going to be great to have Tyler Friday back. Zach Harrison looks great. The guys inside. So that should be a strength of our team is the D-line. But it's fun to now watch Jack into a second year, and it's time for him to take the next step. I think for some of those guys, in year 2, year 3, they were still inexperienced. You say, well, they were 2 or 3 years in, but with COVID and everything, they hadn't played a lot. They gained some experience last year, so now they're veteran. And whether it's the second year or the third year, if they played a lot of football, in our mind, they're veteran. And Jack's one of those guys. So even as a second-year guy, I think you'll expect to see some veteran play out of him.
For the second time in, I think, the last 6 years, popped some eyebrows around where I live about Tulsa, Oklahoma. First, Josh Proctor, now identifying Jim Knowles to lead your defense. What led you to Coach Knowles? And to that end, having Tanner McAllister, how does that help you?
Well, Jim is somebody I've followed along his career for a while. He's been around some really good defenses, and when you follow his career, he's very, very intelligent. And we talk with people who have worked with him and for him, just really, great things to say about who he is. He has a great teaching mentality just in terms of understanding how to teach young men. He's got a good mentality in terms of attacking offenses. And, I think when you combine that with a lot of experience coming back on defense, we're hoping for really good, strong defense and having great, balance within our team.
Adding Tanner McAllister as a part of that, is that a defensive assistant on the field for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's been in that system for a while. He knows it, and so he can really help with those guys. And we also have Matt Guerreri, who was defense coordinator at Duke, took over for him when he was at Duke. He's an analyst for us, but he's also somebody that was in the system before. So you got a couple guys there that were in the system. That really helps because, when you're bringing in a new system, whether it's coaching the coaches or Tanner on the field talking to the players, it helps to have other voices out there.
I'm curious, as a fan of football, watching it from an offensive side, when you go and look at a defense or a defensive coordinator, are you evaluating yourself and going, I don't know what I would do against that? Or how do you, as an offensive-minded guy, identify a defensive mind?
I think the first thing you do is you look at how hard they play and what kind of energy they play with. And I think that's the first thing. What kind of technique do they play with? Then you look at the scheme, and you try to figure out how they're attacking defenses and how quickly can they adapt based on how an offense is going to attack you. And I think when you look at Jim, he does a pretty good job early on in the game of trying to figure out how the offense is attacking him and then being able to quickly pivot to what he thinks can help and adjust in game. I think that's very, very important. But a lot of that has to do with the teaching up front, is that teaching the system of defense and knowing that, okay, if this is what happens, our contingency plan is to go into this area. And when he says, like, I put my 10,000 hours of football into this thing. And when you have that type of experience, you can draw back upon those things as you get into those games.
A little bit broader, if you will allow me, Coach. You have a couple of teams in LA that all of a sudden want to play Midwest football. How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I think it's great. I think it's great for the conference. We're now a national conference, and that's big. It gives us a lot of juice and energy and a lot of power. So I'm all for it. I think it's great, and looking forward to playing those guys.
My last one for you, Coach. Open-ended. Please take it any direction you would like. How do you feel about the future of college football?
Kind of how I felt the last couple of years, which is like you just driving without brakes. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's coming next. And I think the easy thing to do is get frustrated or worry about what's coming next. The best you can do is just try to do the best right now and today, and just try to do what's best for your program and try to put them in the best position you can, because you just don't know what's coming next. And again, if you said to me, this is how the first 4 years of your head coaching career is going to be at Ohio State, I would never believed you, because there's just so many things that have come up, but they're going to continue to happen, and it's going to continue to come up. So being able to adapt is critical.
The Ohio State head coach, Ryan Day. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
You got it.
I'm pleased to be joined by Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford. Sean, how you doing, other than, being too tight?
A little tight. Jersey, I feel like we should have sized up, but it's all good. I'm feeling great. Really happy to be here at Big Ten Media Day. So excited to get this thing rolling.
So one of the things that I'm impressed about with you is your ability to adapt to scheme after scheme after scheme. I think we're up to your 5th offensive coordinator in your time?
I think fourth. Yeah, fourth.
So Donovan?
I committed under Donovan.
Okay.
Didn't have a season truly under
Can you reel them off?
So it would be John Donovan to Joe Moorhead to Ricky Ronnie to Kirk Straka, not counting Donovan, so that's 3, and then now Mike Yursich.
How's it feel to know that you're coming back to the same system?
It feels great, and honestly, that's where I was so excited is the team that I'm coming back to, and then having that second year in the same offense. A lot of quarterbacks, the minute that they get that second year, they can take that next step. And, it's all about in the spring, instead of learning, it's about mastery. And that's where I'm as excited as I ever have been. So
what's it been like for you to play for Coach Yursich? I'm speaking as a guy who saw him up close at Oklahoma State, where he came from Chippenberg, and what that offense is capable of. Yeah,
Coach Yursich is a fiery personality, that's for sure. I think that's the number one with him. He's going to bring it every single day, and he's going to make sure that you bring it every single day. So he's looking to get the best out of you. And then secondly, his scheme is explosive. And I think that we saw a bunch of glimpses all last year, but it's time now to take it up a notch. And that's where, with Coach Yursich, this offense, I'm just excited to be a spoke in the wheel. So,
well, an important spoke in the wheel, but you're also going to have 2 outstanding guys out on the perimeter, one of which Parker Washington you're familiar with. Mitchell Tinsley, I've seen on tape. Well, many of us saw at Western Kentucky. What are you expecting from those 2 guys?
Yeah, Parker Washington, a vet guy now, been here, done that, but he's excited to take that next step. And then Mitch Tinsley coming in as a transfer, just fantastic talent. Really, I think that the big thing with Mitch Tinsley that people need to understand is the work ethic. That man is in there every day. He lives with me, so he's texting me. He's coming over to my room. Hey, when we throwing tomorrow? Every single day, Mitch brings it. And, those 2 are, great leaders in that group, but you got that's a deep room. Keandre Lambert-Smith, Malik Mega, Jaden Dotton, my brother. The list goes on and on and on. Trey Wallace. I could talk about them for days. So realistically, those 2 are great leaders, really set the tone, set the standard, but we got a great room too.
I'm glad you brought up your brother, because I want to know, where's that relationship going to show up on the field for you?
I think that it's the same as it was in the backyard about, what was that? It feels like 100 years ago now, since I've been in college for so long. But, back in the day when we were playing in the backyard, that's how it feels almost on the field. Obviously, the bullets are flying a little faster than the neighborhood kids, but at the same time, it's still a great feeling to be out there with them and share those memories.
Last year was sort of challenging. Well, was challenging for Penn State at times, specifically for you. What did you learn from 2021?
I think it's all about just keeping a level head and staying focused on the task at hand, because, life's going to throw you curveballs. I didn't expect to get injured. I didn't want to get injured, but that's the name of the game.
Nobody wants to get injured.
Of course, you know what I'm saying? So it's really about how you take those hurdles and those obstacles and push through them, because, when you got a great team, you got great coaches, and they got your back, it gives you a lot of confidence in yourself to go out and perform for your team. So I think that's what I learned the most. Just staying focused on the task at hand. There's going to be hurdles, but you just got to keep jumping.
I said 2 of the underclassmen I'm very excited about across the country are at Penn State.
Yeah.
One of them is going to be your understudy, Drew Eller. And then the other is a dude that I think can squat an entire house, Nick Singleton.
But, I think it's proven at this point.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So let's start with Nick. What has he done to impress you?
Yeah, I think that, that whole running back room, I don't want to put that room away. Talking about Nick specifically, he comes in and works. He's a workhorse. I think that he's been brought up in a really good family of working hard. He gets it. He comes in every day with a strong focus to get better. And, that's what you need in a young guy. But, Nick, I think that the whole room, Katron Allen also came in right alongside of him. He's making some splashes. I think you're going to see him this year too, along with Kevon, along with Keziah. The list goes on and on. And I think that we have a lot of leadership in that room this year. So I'm excited about the run game.
Well, I'm glad you're excited about the run game, because Penn State fans would like to see one of these guys take the job and make it their own. We're talking about, I think it's 16 games that we've been without a 100-yard rusher for Penn State. What's the emphasis like in the running back room with Coach Sider?
Yeah, they know that. It's not like they're shying away from it. And that's what's beautiful about it right now, is they know where they're at. They know how good they could be, and they're reaching that potential every single day, working for it. Because they would be the first to tell you that they've fallen short a few times this year or these past couple of years of getting over that hump. But with this group, I think that they know it. They see the issues, and they're ready to address it and really prove it on the field. So I'm excited for my running backs.
I think I get why you decided you wanted this 6th year.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Yursich, year 2. You know what you have coming back. You also know what the highs look like 2019. What is left for you to do in 2022?
Just have a bunch of fun. I think that's really how it is for me. My last year at Penn State, this university has given me so much. I could never repay what Coach Franklin, the staff that I've had, and especially the players. And now my family, like literally my brother being there, I can't repay them. So it's all about enjoying it, enjoying the process because, sometimes in the past I've just taken it a little bit too seriously and not that it's not a serious game and not that we're playing for, something extremely serious and that's a Big Ten championship. But at the same time, I think it's enjoying those moments and really just having a blast.
Sean Clifford, thank you so much for taking time, sir.
Thanks, RJ.
I'm pleased to be joined by Penn State head coach James Franklin. Coach, how you doing?
Awesome. Appreciate you having me.
I got a big kick out of your players. Sean was sitting right where you are. He's very excited about going into year 2 with Coach Yursich, and it dawned on me as I was preparing for that interview that he has been committed to or played for, I think it's up to 4 offensive coordinators, and how excited he is to just know the system because he feels he gets to master it this year. How excited are you for Sean to have this 6th year?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. That's going to have a significant impact not only on our season, but also Sean's year. We've been fortunate that we've had a number of guys that have been the offensive coordinator at Penn State and have gone on to be head coaches. So it creates challenges for us, but it's also something that we take great pride in. I think Sean is a guy that prepares the right way, handles things the right way, and has had a great offseason. And I do think your point of his confidence in year 2 in the same offense is going to be significant for us.
You mentioned some of your assistants have gone on to be head coaches, one of those Brent Pry, Virginia Tech. You bring in Manny Diaz without missing a beat, and all I hear is that he's fiery and he's energetic and he's excited to be there. As a fiery and energetic man yourself, grade him on a 1 to 10 for me. What kind of fiery to energetic is Coach Diaz?
Yeah, I gotta say 10, right? What else am I supposed to say? He's been great. You're talking about an established, proven, seasoned defensive coordinator at a number of different schools and a number of different conferences, and that's important. At a place like Penn State, we should be able to get that type of guy. Number 2, his experience as a head coach. That there's value in that. His ability to get up in front of the team, to get up in front of the defense, the presence, and then also his big picture view of college football has been really valuable, and I think he's enjoyed it. You never know. I call him basically a day after the Miami situation goes down, and some people aren't ready to have that conversation, but we were able to engage quickly and aligned on a lot of things, and he's been great. So year 2 with Coach Yursich, year 1 on defense. There are some similarities defensively in what we've done in the past and in what we're still doing, so that will help. But it's about creating turnovers on defense and getting your guys to fly around. And I think Manny and myself and our defensive coaches kind of align in how we think defensive football should be played, not only nationally but specifically in the Big Ten.
What can we expect along those lines from P.J. Mustipher, who I need to say passed his conditioning test?
There's no doubt. My man is excited. He's played for 5 years, played as a true freshman with COVID. He was able to get an extra year after having the injury. He'll never have to take the conditioning test again, and he's fired up about it. But he's a leader. The guy is all about ball. He's already got his degree. His brother plays for the Bears. His dad played at West Virginia. He gets it. He's been raised right. As a young man, he's also been raised right in terms of the game of football and how to prepare and how to work. I'd hire the guy to be my D-line coach. He's that type of guy. I'm super proud of him. He's going to be unbelievably successful, not only for us this year, but also in his future. And having him back is significant. It really is. We lost him and Sean in the same game last year. when you have two teams ranked in the top 5 battling like crazy. So having both of those guys back and learning through those experiences is really valuable for our team.
Jahan Dotson was outstanding last year. Parker Washington, I assumes the role this year that is going to be just a little bit larger. And then you go and pull Mitchell Tinsley out of a hat. What are you expecting from that wide receiver room this year?
Yeah, so we had a young man by the name of Keandre Lambert as well who played. Your point, Parker Washington, and then Mitchell Tinsley, like you mentioned. So we actually feel like with losing a Jahan Dotson, that's hard to replace. But if you look at Keandre was a still young developing player last year, that group of 3, we believe, can be as productive as the group with Jahan last year. Not that you're replacing Jahan specifically with any one of them, and you never know. Maybe someone has that type of year. But the group, we feel like, can be just as productive as the group we had last year.
One of the things I hear most from Penn State fans is, who is the next best rusher coming out of Penn State? They will point to me and say, we haven't had a 100-yard rusher. I will say, you got a great running back room. And it got a little bit better, if I may say so, with Nick Singleton, who I think is freak show. What are you expecting from that room this year?
Well, it's not just that room, right? It's our O-line, it's our tight ends, it's our commitment to the running game. It's being able to run on normal downs. It's being able to run on short yardage situations, goal line, 4-minute. We got to be able to do it. That's a commitment in the offseason. That's development of the offensive line. And then that's running backs having the mentality that once the scheme or the players up front get you to the free linebacker or get you to the free safety, now you got to do your job. You got to make that one guy miss, whether it's making a miss from using your athleticism in open field, or whether it's lowering the shoulder and breaking a tackle. But now that has to come into play. So, game of football obviously is about everybody doing their job and complementing one another, and that's what the run game is going to be for us. But we're committed there. I've come to the Big Ten media days every year and talked about this is going to be the year for the O-line. I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to let the proof be in the pudding. I'll let you tell me at the middle of the season where we're at, and whatever you say will be gospel.
No, it won't, and you know that's right. But I do want to say this because I believe this. Nick Singleton is absolutely amazing as a football player. He picked Penn State. You picked him. What has he shown you so far that you could tell us about, maybe a story that demonstrates the level of football player that you have playing for the Nittany Lions?
Well, we've got a good history of guys staying home, specifically running backs staying home. Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders, and now Nick Singleton, and being able to do some special things at Penn State and then be able to take it to the next level is really important. So for Nick, it was being able to develop a relationship with him and mom and dad. High school coach. We had a great player named Jan Johnson out of the same program a few years ago who played really well for us at Penn State. And Nick has a chance to take all those things to the next level. Obviously, was very well thought of, number 1 running back in the country, Gatorade Player of the Year. We do have a running back room that's going to allow him to develop, so when he's ready, he'll play. And sometimes you're in a situation where guys are forced onto the field before they need to be. But you're talking about a guy who's already 220 pounds, runs really well, is freakishly strong in the weight room. I think he made a power clean 365 this summer. Is a special guy, is close to a 400-pound bench press. So he is physically developed and ready for the game of football. And then being able to come in, graduated early, came in the spring, was able to learn the system. So that will give him a chance to legitimately compete, for the starting job, but definitely for playing time.
My last one for you, Coach. We've seen some changes in college football. USC, UCLA are going to be Big Ten members in 2024. With all of this going on, name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, how do you feel about the future of college football?
Well, here's the deal. Change is coming, and change is here. Embrace it. I don't care whether it's college football or any other industry. The most successful organizations, the most successful teams, the most successful sports are people that are going to embrace change. Probably more change than we've had in the previous 25 years. but it's here. And at Penn State, we're not going to waste any energy or time on what we want it to be or what it should have been or what it could have been. This is where we're at. We're excited about it. Obviously, bringing two schools that have great academic reputations to align, with our conference and our universities from that perspective, but also two schools with great tradition and history as well. And there's going to be a lot of excitement, whether it's Fox, whether it's fans, whether it's other media outlets, whether it's our former players. Excited about seeing Penn State and USC on the football field together, or UCLA. Hopefully they're coming to us as much as possible. But yeah, I think this is where we're at in college football, and we're embracing it at Penn State.
Here's to USC playing in Happy Valley in the last week of November, Coach.
You're exactly right. Scheduling, please.
Coach James Franklin, thank you so much for taking the time, sir.
You as well. Thank you.
I'm pleased to be joined by Michigan State quarterback Payton Thorne. Payton, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great, man.
Awesome.
Now, I want to start with 2021 because it's a banner year for Michigan State. What do you think it means to Spartan fans to be able to say, hey, we're good and we're going to stay good?
Yeah, I want to put a product out on the field that your fans can be proud of. And I think that, we did that last year and we're starting to build something now to bring Michigan State back to where we were, 8-10 years ago.
How does it feel to know that the passing attack is a catalyst for this in many ways, in which Michigan State's been about defense and run the football? We'll talk about that. But your contribution, Jaden's contribution, Jalen Naylor last year, his contribution, were really setting the tone for an attack that I hadn't seen coming out of Michigan State through the air in some time.
Absolutely. We want to be two-dimensional. We don't want to be just relying on the run or the pass. And so I feel like we have a pretty balanced offense. Obviously, last year we had Kenneth Walker, the best running back and arguably the best player in the country. And so we would lean on our run game, but we also, we threw it plenty. And so, this upcoming year, I think we got a lot of playmakers back. We got some names that maybe guys haven't heard of as much, but, I think we got a chance to have a lot of success on offense this year.
You were intriguing to me because when I first saw you, like most people, is Penn State. You go for 325 in your first start. I believe that's the most any Spartan quarterback has ever passed for in his first start. How did that come together for you?
It was just that whole year, that whole COVID year. We were in a quarterback competition earlier in the year, and I wasn't named the starter right away. And throughout that year, I just tried to prepare like I was starting. People talk about that, but I truly tried to do that. And then, my time came. I got in against Indiana, got in against Ohio State, and then finally against Penn State, I was given a start. And I tried to take the most of that opportunity and run with it. And unfortunately, we didn't get out of there with a win. But I thought that I was able to put enough out there to prove to my teammates that I can play and that I could be the guy for our team. And so that was, a jump start into last year.
Quarterback derbies are not easy. They're not easy, especially when they go into the season. You mentioned, hey, proving my teammates I can play. Did you hear some of that from them following that game?
Yeah, I had throughout that whole year and throughout that offseason, my teammates were supporting me, and I knew that they believed in me as a player, but to go out there and actually do it in a game setting is a different thing. And so going out there and doing that, and then all last year, still trying to prove myself to my teammates, my coaches, myself, and I feel like we were able to do that last year, and that's a constant process of improvement and keep attacking.
Coach Tucker has been very vocal about, hey, our quarterback has to be our number one competitor. That has to be the guy that sets the tone. How do you do that knowing this year there is no competition? It's you. Right.
I think of I always come back to something that Tom Brady said, I think, the last couple of years, is that he goes out, he's the greatest of all time, and he goes out there every day and still competes like he has a job to earn, and he needs to prove to his teammates that he's still got it. And that really means something when the best of all times doesn't even feel comfortable in his own position. Obviously, he knows that his job security is very secure, but his mentality is that he's going to prove it still. And so if the greatest of all time is saying that, then, I think every quarterback should say that. And, I believe that there's always something to prove, and I'm looking to improve my game and become the best player that I can be for my teammates and for Michigan State.
Equally balanced with a chip on both shoulders. I get it, because that's just how Tom gets through life, and that's how many of us succeed. quarterbacks often succeed because they have an outstanding run game. And you mentioned it. Maybe the best player in the country, Kenneth Walker, went for 1,600 yards, allows you to be really great on play action. You got another great tailback transferred in, Jarek Broussard, another that I'm very high on in Jalen Berger. What have you seen from those guys so far?
Yeah, I think they're very unique players. I think that they're both guys who can, make plays out of the backfield, but also make plays with their hands. Go catch the ball out of the backfield, line up in the slot. We can motion them out. They're guys that, Kenneth Walker could do those things. It's just we didn't do it much with him, and so
he's gone.
Yeah, right. And so we can, those are things that we can do and that we will do. And I think those are two dynamic backs that are going to have a chance to do a lot of good things for us.
I'm interested in your journey to Michigan State because, quiet as it's kept, your father, Jeff Thorne, is offensive coordinator at Western Michigan. You were once committed to Western Michigan, changed up, got to Michigan State. How is it that you have maintained your relationship with your father when you get this job and perhaps not being coaxed over to Western Michigan?
Yeah, there's never been a thought in my mind ever leaving Michigan State. Last year we brought in a transfer quarterback, and to be honest, it never really even crossed my mind to test the portal or any of that. I believe in Michigan State. I believe fully in Coach Tuck and the coaching staff, and I love my teammates here at Michigan State. So it's never been a thought ever to leave, no matter what's happened. And obviously, like you said, my dad now is at Western Michigan, and I was previously committed to Western Michigan before I decommitted and committed to Michigan State. But it's going to be interesting this year. We got Western Michigan week 1, so would not have imagined that the next time my dad would be at our place that he'd be on the other sideline, but it'll be fun, and we've joked about it quite a bit, so it'll be a fun experience.
You touched on it in that you do get to open against your dad across the sideline. Is there going to be just a no talking going on, or is mom just going to say, neither one of you get to talk to me about any of this? Yeah,
we've talked about it already, and he's not happy that he has to play against his own son, who obviously, my whole life he's been my number one supporter. So I'm just glad he's not the DC. He's not the defensive coordinator. So he'll stay on his offensive side. I'll be on our offensive side. Obviously, we're going to do our best to play our best football no matter who we're playing. So, but it'll be fun. I've played against him my whole life in the front yard playing basketball and, knee football when I was like 3 years old. And so, I've had plenty of competitions against him, but never an official football competition. So it'll be fun. It'll be a cool experience.
Well, as an avid neutral, I am looking forward to that game, and I hope both of you get what you want. Somebody's probably going to be unhappy at the end.
Right.
Payton Thorne, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm pleased to be joined by Michigan State head coach Mel Tucker. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, sir. I was just remarking, we were talking about how it's chaotic out here, but one of the things that I really loved about 2020, if there was something to love, is as it got more chaotic, I found my center. I found my pace. And then I looked around and folks were trying to follow me. How do you feel right now? Do you feel like you found your pace?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I know that the word, chaos has been thrown out. Hey, it's crazy. What is this coming to? But for me, I'm always about adapting and adjusting. And I feel like that, we can figure it out. Myself and my staff, we got a lot of smart people. We have a staff that understands, hey, listen, things are going to change. It's a changing landscape. It's an inflection point right now. And we're really leaning into it and like you say, finding our center, adjusting our process. And I feel good about it.
I tend to think that good head coaches are also good businessmen. They find a market inefficiency and they exploit it. That's scheme, right? That's also identifying talent. You seem to have found one last year in just, hey, if we get a tight game in the fourth quarter, we're going to win. I'm good with that. But how do you come to get that sort of confidence knowing that in a one-score game, you got a chance to go win?
Yeah, well, we tell our players the number one thing, you have to be best conditioned. So we're built to play a four-quarter game. We want the game to get deep into the fourth quarter because of our conditioning, mental and physical. We feel like that we're not going to flinch. We're going to find a way to win. When you go in the game and you expect to win as opposed to hoping to win, then when you get into a tight ball game, it's just like, this is just what it is. We're going to keep chopping. We're going to trust our process. We're not going to look at the scoreboard. We're just going to keep playing the next play and find a way to get it done.
you have been outstanding in games that I think matter, right? And matter to your fan base. I'm thinking about Michigan. I'm thinking about Ohio State. I'm thinking about Penn State. How have you stepped into that environment and been able to command from your team, not respect, but that you will do what I do? And what I do is come in here looking to win. How do you get there so quickly?
Well, it's really a mindset, and it's communication. You lay out the vision, and then you lay out a plan, and then you do things within the process. You work. There's actions, there's behavior. It's not just talk. There's things that we do day to day to build trust with our players. Things we do with them, they see results. They see it fast. They see themselves getting better. And so we have proof. We get results before we even play the games. And then we actually tell them ahead of time, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to look like. This is how these games are going to go. And this is how we're going to react. These are things we're not going to do. These are things we are going to do, and this is how we're going to get it done. And it's like that every single day. There's no surprises in our program. Like, what you see is what you get. We're real with our guys. We're authentic. There's no shortcuts. We know it's not going to be easy. You're not going to have a great season. You're not going to have a great football team without tough games, without being able to win games down the stretch. You might need to win a game on the last play of the game. That happens. That's what good teams do. Good teams find a way to win, and they don't flinch. And so our program, our culture is all about being resilient, being relentless, never stopping, and trusting the process.
One of the things I heard Coach Chiano say is it's not just getting guys on the bus, it's getting guys in the right seats on that bus.
That's right.
Kenneth Walker comes in, right seat on the bus, 1,600 yards, All-American, best player in the country, according to some, myself included. Then you go and identify Jarek Broussard, who showed out in 2020 at Colorado, Jalen Berger, who I think has tremendous talent, transferred in from Wisconsin. It's one thing to go get those guys. Now what are you asking them to do? Yeah,
just trust the process. That's all. And they're doing that because that's why they came here in the first place. What we're doing and our culture resonated with them. They say, okay, I can go there and I can get what I want there. These guys can help me get better, and so just trusting what we're doing, do what we ask you to do it to the best of your ability. We're not leaving it up to one guy. We're not counting on one player to come in. We're just going to jump on his back. You got to ride us in. Like, listen, we got a good football team. Okay, you come in here, do your job. Okay, we're going to work with you. You're going to get better. You're going to make us better. It's going to be a win-win. Let's get to work.
I was really intrigued to talk with Payton Thorne, my first time being able to sit down with him, and I learned a lot, but not the least of which is he takes to heart what you have said. Our quarterback has to be our number one competitor, but now it's his job. And in that way, get back in your head, it's mine. What am I competing against? He said, no. I'm showing up like I got to win this every single day.
Right.
How do you be sure that he doesn't get a little complacent and that does not affect your football team? Yeah,
well, you said, like, how do you ensure it? Yeah, because you got to make sure, right? He's not a guy that's going to be complacent, but it's compete to play, compete to stay, like compete to stay in your position. That's myself, and it's any player, all included. You got to show up every day. If you did it yesterday, you got to prove that you can still do it today. There's no entitlement. There's no rest. There's no comfort. There's no complacency. It's always what's next, and that's the way we practice. That's the way we compete. So if it's not there, if it's not happening, you stick out like a sore thumb, okay? And then we confront it, and then we demand that you get it right and that you get back on track. And then we have competition, And listen, like, competition should bring out the best in everyone, and your quarterback has to be intrinsically motivated in terms of, like, hey, listen, I don't need necessarily a coach or another player, to be on me, for me to do what I got to do. He's one of those guys. He's hyper competitive. What he's done this out of season, where he's really taking the next step, is leadership. Not just leading by example, but holding his teammates accountable. On the field, off the field. That's when you start to have a real football team, when the players are holding each other accountable, because that's really the last piece, because that's very uncomfortable. People get offended, when they got one of their buddies, one of their peers calling them out and say, hey, that's not what it's supposed to be. This is what you need to do. Like, well, who are you? Well, hey, listen, that's a real football team. That's when you really got something. He's really taking those steps to be that guy because, leading by example is really not leading, and he understands that.
He spoke to that, too. I had asked him about the Penn State game and going for 325 in his first start. He said, hey, we lost. I put something on tape, though, that my teammates know I can go, but we lost. Like, that's a loss.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else.
Right.
A couple of bigger picture questions, if you don't mind, Coach. First one is, we got a couple teams in L.A. that apparently want to go to East Lansing in November and play some football. How do you feel about that?
Well, I tell you what, I think it's great. I think it's great for our conference. I really do. College football is changing. The landscape is changing. And Commissioner Warren is a brilliant guy. He's really smart. He's got experience. He knows what he's doing. He's positioned the Big Ten for now and for the future for us to be the premier conference in the country. And so when you add teams like USC, UCLA, history, tradition, good coaches, good players, the market, okay? Now we're East Coast, West Coast. We recruit nationally. We've got guys on our team from California. We've got guys on our team from Nevada, from Arizona, from Colorado. That just increases our visibility. That lengthens our reach, so we can get into more homes. We can get in on more really good players, which we need to do to be able to compete for championships. So it only helps us. Now, we're going to build our team, and we're building our team to be able to compete regardless of who's in our conference or who we play. That's the way we have to do it. So who we play, where we play them, do they come to us, we go to them? That's really not a part of our mindset. It's just building the best football team that we can build to play anyone, anytime.
My last one for you, Coach. Open-ended. Take it wherever you would like to. How do you feel about the future of college football?
You know what? I'm excited about it. It's nothing really ever stays the same. And then and things usually go in cycles. I embrace change, and certainly there's a lot of it right now. We don't know where it's going, but I'm seeing, like, with our current players, I'm seeing a different awareness from them, and also recruits, that I'm actually more than a football player. There's more to it than this, which I think is a good thing. So now it's on us to help with the education part, the mentoring, to show, okay, now this is what's really going on. This is how you do this. This is how you take advantage. This is how you put yourself in the best position, now and beyond. So for me, it's an opportunity for us to feel a need, with this NIL deal, okay, what do these guys need? What resource do they need to help them do what they want to do? What type of education needs to be provided? What type of leadership do we have to have for these guys in order for these guys to take advantage of these opportunities? So to me, because this is about the players. With no players, no coach. And that's the way it is in the National Football League. That's a players' league. Okay, so what can we do to help the guys? And these are young guys. They want to be better. They want to win. They want to play ball. They want to take advantage of opportunity, just like anybody else. But if they're so young, that they can't do it on their own. So we got to help them within the rules. We got to help them the best way we can, and that's the way I see it. So it's an opportunity for us to just pour even more into these guys.
I'm excited to see how Michigan State and you, Coach Tucker, help those guys achieve those dreams. Michigan State head coach Mel Tucker, thank you so much for taking time, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm pleased to be joined by Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz. Graham, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
How does it feel to be going into year 3 as quarterback at Wisconsin?
It's definitely fun. For me, it's my 3rd year doing what I love to do and in the place I love to be. So it's definitely a blessing, and can't wait for this year.
I want to talk about how much you love playing in Madison, because I don't know that this story gets told enough, but you didn't grow up there. You grew up in Kansas, born, raised in Minnesota, but somehow coming out of Kansas, you were looking at Big Ten football. How does that happen?
First off, I hate the heat, so I love the cold. So that was a no-brainer. But I mean, for me, my dad actually played at Minnesota, so we grew up watching Minnesota games, and I just fell in love with the Big Ten. And I kind of knew eventually when I was getting recruited that I wanted to be somewhere in the Big Ten. And my entire mom's side's from Green Bay, so grew up coming up here every summer, going to the lake house, doing a bunch of different things. So I mean, it's the best city in the world. You got the lake, you got a little bit cold winters, but great summers, great falls. So best fans in the world, best stadium in the world, best city in the world. I stand by that.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
So how did you put up with living in Kansas for so long, knowing how much you like it here?
Kansas was nice. I also stand by this, that Kansas is the best barbecue in the world. People say Texas, Memphis.
Now we don't have to fight you anymore.
Yeah. So now we're good. Now we're good. But Kansas City's got it was a great place to grow up. Great friends there. So great food too. Big food guy. Love nice food. Yeah.
So is there a spot in Madison that you stake out?
We go to a place called Rare in Madison that's like one of the best steakhouses in the world. It's really good.
Rare. It is going on the list.
Yeah, you got to be there. We'll go.
I would love
come
that.
Come to a game. We're going.
I would love that. That'd be a lot of fun. So I want to talk about how 2021 went for you. How do you think it went?
Yeah, I mean, we started off a little slow, struggled. But for me, I learned a lot about myself and how I am as a man and how I go about my business. And it was looking back at it, I took a step back in January and just kind of did a whole look about, okay, what can I do better? And for me, it was just taking a holistic approach as far as like how you eat, how you work out, when you work out, and truly just having purpose behind everything. So for me, it was great. I learned a ton about myself, which I'm forever thankful for. So there's a saying where it's you grow through what you go through, and for me, I'm thankful for my process to this point, just because I've learned so much about myself and fell in love with the process while doing it. So it was definitely not what we wanted, starting out that slow, but I'm proud of the guys and the team we had and how we bounced back and kind of really gathered around each other and just worked. And that was the theme of the year.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because I'm sure, as your dad would say, 9-4 is great for Minnesota. That's what they did last year. They feel real good about that. Yeah. 9-4 at Wisconsin, there's a little bit of a different tenor. Yeah. How do you go about navigating? Hey, we won 9 games. We're pretty good, especially toward the end. You give us a few more games, we can show you better football. Yeah,
I mean, we all know the football we want to play, and we know that our best ball is ahead of us, and that's what gets us excited every day. So we can't wait for this season. We got a really, really talented team, really hungry team, and we're just ready to go play, have fun.
Talented team, hungry team. There's a dude in the back, about 7.5 yards deep behind you. It's kind of hard to miss.
Yeah.
There was
a little strong.
Little bit, right? A little bit, you know? I like to think he could lift this chair. Maybe that's too much for that.
Maybe the mic. Maybe he lifted up to his face.
We're talking about Braylan Allen, who's probably tired of us saying that he was 17 years old last year when he rushed for 1,200 yards and really became the kind of tailback that we've just been blessed to see at Wisconsin year in and year out. When did you know this guy was a little bit different?
Okay, so this is actually a funny story. So when he was in high school, it was like the COVID year, and they were playing in the spring, I think. Like their season got pushed back. So he started posting highlights, and I just knew him as Braylan, the safety linebacker, like come and just hit somebody. And he started posting highlights of him running the ball, and I was like, hold up. So I texted him one day. I'm like, Bray, you playing running back? And he's like, yeah, dude, just out here playing ball, man. And I'm like, well, might want to come play offense, bro. And it's funny because we have those texts from that day. But I knew as soon as I saw one highlight tape, I'm like, that kid is not going to play safety. Like, he is going to play running back here. But just a couple of things about B. I mean, he's one of my really good friends. And one of the coolest things about him is he's so wise beyond his years. Like, he's 18 years old, but he goes about his business like he's a four-year vet in the NFL. Like, he knows his body, he knows how to recover, which is a big thing as a running back. And he's young, but he takes care of himself more than anybody I've ever met. And that's one of the coolest things as a running back, because usually that's a position that just gets hit every single play and hit. But he knows how to recover. He asks all the right questions, and he's got get a couple guys that are a little bit older than him that look out for him too, and like Melvin and JT Dare. So he's got a really good group to like bounce ideas off of.
I know that it was probably not Coach Chryst's idea to have him carrying the rock as much as he did, especially those last few games. But the injury to Ches mandated such a thing. How did you and the team respond to, okay, now you are the feature back. You're the guy we're going to hand the ball to. How do we better take care of you?
Yeah, I think that as that's where you want to play as a unit, and you need a unit. Holy voice crack. But for us, it's how can we all get on the same page, and knowing that like that, how do I do my job better to open it up a little bit more? If that's changing a mic point on a run play to make it easier on the whole line to get there, whether that's killing a run play to a different one. So for us, it's having that level of accountability that we're all out here looking out for each other. And when you're carrying the ball 25, 30 times a game, you need your teammates to help you out a little bit. So I think that one special thing about this team is we know that we're all doing it for each other, and we all can help each other out every play, and knowing that what's our job and how can we do it better.
You got another opportunity to reset along with your 360 view in January. You add Bobby Ingram as offense coordinator, quarterbacks coach. How has he helped make you a better quarterback?
Oh, Coach Ingram, he's been awesome. And one thing that he does a great job of is kind of bringing a holistic approach and knowing that it's a long journey and that we can't get there unless we focus on today. And he does a fantastic job of maxing out the moment. And he is a talented guy in what he does, talented man in what he did in his field. And he's been a great addition. I mean, all the guys love him. He loves us. And we're ready to go play with him. It'll be fun.
I'm excited to see Wisconsin football 2022. Graham Mertz.
Me too.
Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
I'm pleased to be joined by Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I want to start with the way you ended 2021 after what looked like just getting challenged earlier in the season. How do you feel about your team going into 2022?
I like this group, and I think I say that a lot of years. I really do like this team, and I like where they're coming from. I think, we've got work still to be done, and fall camp is going to be really important for us. But I like the leadership that we have, and I like the purpose that they're showing right now in their work, and I think we've got talented guys. We've certainly got a number of spots that we've got to replace from last year, but I think we've got guys that can fill those roles, and so looking forward to camp. And we need to have a really healthy, competitive camp, not just offense versus defense, but I think within a number of position groups. But I do like this group.
It's interesting to hear you say you like this group, knowing what you have offensively, returning guys like Graham Mertz, guys like Braylan Allen. You got, I believe, 8 positions that are going to have new starters on your defense. What do you like about those guys?
Well, I think, defensively, one, we've got some really good players returning, and, Keanu Benton, and I think it's a great place to start. And Nick Herbig, really, I think those two guys are the heart and soul of our, not just defense, team. And we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. And we've got some that, haven't played, but we're excited about who they are as players and the work that they've put in. And now's their time. There's no doubt inside linebacker, we lost a ton of production with Jack Sanborn and Leo. And so you say, what's going to happen? How we replace that? You don't. Both are really good players, but I like our group of linebackers. Do I know right now who that's going to be? No, but I think we got some talented young players. I think the same thing. We lose 2 safeties, we lose 2 corners, but I think we've got a number of guys that have played really good football. We've got some transfers that have come in. We've got some young players that we're really excited about. And so I think that, we'll be different. The names will certainly be different, but, have a lot of trust and confidence, and not just Jim Leonard, our defense coordinator, but our whole defensive staff. And I think they do a great job of identifying the strengths of our players, and do a great job of coaching, what you need to do to be successful in this call and in this play. And so, we've got work to be done, like I said, but I'm excited, and I like the group that they'll be working with, and have complete confidence in our defensive staff and our defensive players.
I know of just 3 head coaches in Wisconsin during my lifetime, and they all play the same sort of football. We're going to run the ball well. We're going to play defense. Usually that comes down to one tailback, and I'm always going through it going, who's going to be the next guy here? Because you keep coming up with guys. Jonathan Taylor, Melvin Gordon, going all the way back for me to Ron Dane.
Yeah.
Seems like you got another one now in Braylan Allen. When did that guy appear to you? Because I got to tell you, Graham telling me that he first saw him as a safety, and that ain't no safety. He's running back.
Right.
But perhaps you saw something different.
No, I mean, when we were first recruiting Braylan, you knew he was a heck of a football player and knew right away he could be play a number of different positions. And at the time, he was just over 200 pounds. And you're thinking he could be a safety, he could be a running back. Didn't quite know, but you kind of trust whatever he wants to do, he'd be pretty good, might be a receiver. And then as he kept growing and maturing, all right, kind of went from safety to he could be a linebacker. And then, senior year did a heck of a job playing running back for him. And so really it was last summer we were talking to Braylan and just, what is there one that you want to play with? Play offense, defense. And he truly said whatever helps the team. And I think when he said that, there's a confidence that whether I'm at linebacker or whether I'm at running back, I will be able to help this team, right? There's a confidence to him, but he also meant it, whatever can help. And at the time we had two really good linebackers, and so a little bit uncertain what was happening at running back. And so, he will step in and he and Ches really carried the load at the running back spot. And so I'm excited about where he can go after his first year. And yet I think even in the running back room, Braylan doesn't have to do it all on his own. We've got some good players along with him.
If I have this right, you're telling me that perhaps the best rookie tailback in the Big Ten, perhaps the country, became one out of serendipity. Like, we weren't really sure. We were kind of unsure about this room. We were sure about that room. So we put him in the room that we were not so sure about. And that's how I ended up with Braylan Allen rushing for 1,200 yards last year.
I mean, we were sure he was really good.
Well, yeah.
But we didn't know. Yeah, absolutely. Didn't know that he was going to be a running back. Didn't know he was going to be a linebacker. Didn't know he wouldn't go both ways. But yeah, I think it did come down to what do we think we need right now, and where could he make the biggest impact earlier, and we felt like it could be at running back, not at linebacker.
It's fascinating to me because I hear players tell me all the time, I want to do whatever helps the team.
Yeah.
And I hear coaches say, what do you want to do? And for this to work out the way that it did, and for Braylan to be the kind of player that he is at tailback, I find that remarkable at a place like Wisconsin. I kind of want to stick there, Coach. It felt like he was not ready for the load toward the end. Now, obviously, Chad's going down changes how you're divvying up the carries, but how do you help him better prepare for it? Yes, you're probably going to be a workhorse again.
Right. I think that's the beauty, for Braylan this offseason is he kind of now knows what he's preparing for. You think about it, last year, not this spring, but the spring before, they delayed their season. So he was playing his high school season in the spring. And so he just finishes that up and he comes a month later to Wisconsin. We're still talking about what position. So now you think about it from his shoes. Now he knows, all right, what it's like to play in the Big Ten. He knows what it's like to play running back. And now he can take advantage of that whole time to help prepare himself. And he's done a great job of that. He's super competitive. He's diligent. It means something to him. He wants to be the best he can be. And so I think just that alone helps him because he knows what he's preparing for. We're in the year before, he was just preparing to come to college. He didn't know, like I said, didn't know what position he'd be playing. Didn't matter. I think he was confident he could help us. And he was right, but there's a lot that he has learned, and I think that only helps you in preparing for the next year.
I love that story. I love it for a couple of reasons. One is I'm a college football fan first, and I read everything there is to know and read about college football.
Right.
And I have a few friends that are Wisconsin grads, and I'm getting just beat over my head because how do you not know about Braylan Allen? How am I just now seeing this dude? Your job is to tell me this is going to happen.
No one knew.
Well, let's see. That's what hey, look, you're vindicating me.
And he was supposed to, he reclassified because really last year was supposed to be his senior year in high school.
Well,
So he's not on the radar as much as everyone else would, and COVID took everyone off the radar. So there's a lot of reasons why you didn't know.
Hey, Coach, again, it just makes me feel better. It's like, no, I would have seen it, I swear. But a dude that I did know a bunch about, really prized when he got to Wisconsin's Graham Mertz.
Right.
He's going into year 3.
Mm-hmm.
He seems settled. He seems as if he's found himself. What have you seen change for him in 2022?
Yeah, I think it are what you're talking about. I think that's real. And I think that, again, you know, Graham's been able to go through a number of different experiences. And, you know, some of them are really good and some are hard to go through. But he keeps coming out the other end. And I think that he's also just himself, he's maturing and understanding what is really needed from the quarterback. And obviously there's plays that are needed, but in the end, it's how do you help others be better and how do you help elevate those around you? That's being a good quarterback. And we all know there's going to be times the ball's in your hand all the time, and there will be situations where you've got to deliver. And again, you go back and there's times when he's done exactly that, and there's been times where it hasn't gone the way that he or we would have liked it to go. You got a chance to learn from it. And he's been intentional and purposeful in, I think, kind of an accurate, this is where I'm at, and really believing that it's important. And so he puts the work in, and this is how I can go forward. And I'm excited for him to continue that work. And we get to do that in fall camp, and it's but I've been proud of the kind of his growth.
How do you think Bobby Ingram has helped him become a better quarterback and even helped you on the staff?
Yeah, I think one of the strengths of Bobby, and really grateful that he's with us, and I think he gets the game and understands it, and it's another perspective. It might be another perspective saying the same thing, and so maybe it validates something else. It might be shedding a different light on something, maybe looking at it through a different lens that helps him. And I think that, you know, there's a number of ways Bobby cares about players, not just the quarterback, not just the receiver, not just, you know, he cares about players. And so I think that also comes across. I think it's a good example for Graham too, that is part of the position, you know, caring about everyone.
Coach, we got some changes afoot here in college football, as you very well know.
Yep.
How excited are you to invite a couple of teams that play in LA to Madison, Wisconsin in November?
Yeah, I like the way you put the little twist on there. You know, there is change, and I think it's you embrace it, and you know, I always think about, okay, for our guys, what's that mean? And I think, you know, some great experiences, you know, and whenever, wherever you're playing them, you know, those would be good teams to play up against. And you know, one thing I've always been proud of with the Big Ten is, you know, you're going to face really good teams, and they're really good teams because they've got really good players and well-coached teams. And so you see that be consistent, you know, when they do join the league, that you're going to have that as well. And yet, you know, I hope I'm still around then. You're right. I hope I'm there to enjoy it. But it's, I think, you know, it changes part of it, and yet I also get encouraged because what doesn't change is the game of football and what we get to do and how we get to do it, and for me, where I get to do it with and the group that I'm with. And so looking forward to this year.
My last one for you, Coach. Very open-ended and take it any direction you like. How do you feel about the future of college football?
You know how I feel about the future of college football? I think, one, it's absolutely a game and worth investing in, and how do we make it the best we can make it. And I'm confident, and it can be really healthy and want change, right? That's how you continue to grow. I'm hopeful that we can, you know, a lot of the changes that we're talking about now seem to me to be really reactionary. You know, we know how we got to NIL because of reactions and different things, and I'm happy that we've got an NIL space. We kind of know where we're at with transfers. I think I get and understand, you know, conferences and the realignment. I'd like to think that we can all find a way to get together, and how we govern it and how we organize it to where we can all get on the same page. It'd be pretty, because it's worth investing in. It's worth saving, because it's a tremendous, I've been fortunate to be around it, most all my life, and it is so worthwhile. And I say that not just from my own experience, but I've been lucky. There's hundreds, thousands of guys that I've been able to be with at different places, and what that's done and how it's helped them become who they are. And so it's whatever work we got to put in, it's worth it.
Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst, thank you so much for taking time, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm pleased to be joined by Purdue quarterback Aidan O'Connell. Aidan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, RJ.
I am looking forward to this. I really want to start with just how last season ended for you. And just a little bit of poke, the producer of this show is a Tennessee fan. Do you have anything you'd like to say to her?
I hope she enjoyed watching the game. I know her heart rate was up. I feel like Purdue and Tennessee fans alike can say that their heart rate was up and down and stressed out. Obviously, it ended in our favor, but I think, as much as we may not like each other because how the game ended, we can kind of see eye to eye and, the stress during the game.
It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it as an avid neutral. I just liked seeing great offensive football. Josh Heupel, Tennessee, they want to move the ball. Obviously, Purdue wants to throw the ball. How was it to be in that storm?
Yeah, it's obviously for a quarterback. It's a quarterback's dream. You always want to shoot out in games like that, and it was a lot of fun. It was crazy back and forth, and even the last 4 minutes of the actual game, craziness. So definitely the longest game I've ever been a part of, and probably the most fun I've been a part of, and just a great atmosphere, sold out crowd, and kind of what you dream of to finish the season.
Last year was a banner year for Purdue. It's the best record that a Purdue team has produced since 2003, and you were at the center of that, specifically against really great teams, passing for over 430 yards against an Ohio State, against Michigan State, against Iowa. How have you been able to rise to the challenge of these really great Big Ten teams?
I think it's confidence instilled from me, from coaches and players, and I think I'm really lucky to have a great supporting cast and great administration, just a great program that cares about their players. And I think, again, it starts from the top down. We have confidence going into those weeks. I remember when my second year in 2018, most people remember we beat Ohio State, and that was a huge win for our program. And I think that kind of, in terms of upset, it happened even before that years prior, but that kind of put us on the map. And so we have confidence that we can play with good teams. It's the Big Ten, really, every team is good. So I think just, seeing us being able to do it in the past, and then our teammates and coaches and people just believing, I think that's the biggest thing.
That 2018 game is ridiculous for a number of reasons. My joke was that the Buckeyes got run over by an actual train, but it's also got a Rondale Moore on it, and that's a special player. Last year, you had a special player in David Bell. Who are you expecting in that wide receiver room to step up for both of those guys?
Yeah, so we're probably maybe not have a star player like that, but we're excited. We feel like we have a lot of very good players too, and hopefully that can even make us more dynamic as we have a steady group of guys: Brock Thompson, Mershawn Rice, Abdur, TJ Sheffield, Deion Burks, Charlie Jones. Honestly, a lot of guys. Elijah Cannon and Tyrone Tracy. So there's more I can keep naming, but that's just a few that come to mind that have had great summers and that we're going to need to play well to win.
I'm glad you mentioned Tyrone Tracy because I got to speak with him last year, right here, playing at Iowa. What's it like to have him in your locker room?
He's a great kid. He's a great player. He works super hard. You can tell that he cares about his craft. He acts like a professional. And like I said, we're going to need him to play well to win games. He's kind of a dynamic player in the sense he can play different positions and do different things. So we're just happy to have him in our program. Everybody loves him. He's blended now with our team and broken out of his shell, and it's been great to just see him even more than on the field stuff, off the field, be friends with the guys and have team camaraderie like that.
Last year, you became the first quarterback since Curtis Painter to throw for 300 yards in 6 games. And you are the first player to make one of the first 2 Big Ten teams at quarterback since Kyle Orton. Did you imagine yourself in that company when you decided to walk on at Purdue?
Yeah, I definitely hope for it. I can't say for sure that I knew it was going to happen. There was, hard times and, kind of a lonely journey and sometimes, but I always knew I had, family, friends back home supporting me and even people at Purdue off the field that, loved me and cared about me for who I am more than football. So I always felt supported. I do feel like still an underdog, but not in the sense that I don't feel loved. I know I'm loved and supported and encouraged by a lot of people. So again, I didn't know for sure that this would happen. This was definitely a dream. And I think I've just been very blessed for it to play out how it has.
Getting to read about your backstory, right? Coming from Lincolnshire, committing to Wheaton, and then deciding to go to Purdue. I'm fascinated. How did that go down for you? In particular, how did you pick out Jeff Brom, and how did Jeff Brom pick you out?
Yeah, it was a crazy process. I wasn't very highly recruited at all. Didn't have any scholarship offers coming out of high school, and Purdue was actually one of the only big-time opportunities that I had, the only walk-on position in the Big Ten that I was able to get. And I was frustrated with the recruiting process, and I originally committed to Wheaton. It was 30 minutes from my house, kind of a safe decision. And then I had friends and family near to me that had conversations with me, and we just kind of decided it's probably a good idea to take a shot and see what can happen. And so it's just, as I reflect, it's all about the people around me. It's not about me. It's all about the people that I love and cherish, that pour into me and have supported me and got me to where I am today.
You have transitioned from walk-on to scholarship player to starting quarterback at Purdue. What's the biggest change from your day-to-day existence on campus, from being a walk-on as a true freshman to being a sixth-year senior?
Yeah, I still feel the same, to be honest with you. I still feel like the A-string walk-on that needs to earn a spot, and I try to bring that mentality to preparation in the weight room, film study, practice, all those things. Because that's how I feel. I still feel like I have a chip on my shoulder. I have something to prove. And I also know that, there's talented guys around me and talented guys just in a quarterback room that are able to play. So I feel like I need to earn my spot every day. And I try to, live and act that way. And so I try to think not a lot has changed. I still try to focus and work just as hard as I did when I was younger. And now, obviously, there's more responsibilities, but the love of the game, I think, is still there. And that is what makes me say, it doesn't feel like much has changed.
I've heard you say it's been a lonely journey at times, but you've also had to talk with people that are close to you. Who are some of the people that you leaned on when this hasn't been going so well?
Yeah, it's been, to start in 2017, 2018 is my parents a lot, family members, even close friends and roommates at Purdue that, shared the journey with me and, again, just cared about me off the field. There's a guy named Marty Dittmar who's our chaplain for our team, our FCA chaplain for Purdue, and he's just been huge for me. And then as I've, gotten later, and my current fiance, who's we met in 2018, started dating in 2019, has supported me so much. So I just that's a few. I could go on and on for a couple hours about all the people that got me to Purdue and the people that helped me. So it's, like I said before, it's all about those people. Those people are who pour into me and love me, and those people are the reason that I feel I can keep going.
My last one for you. Why did you want to return for a sixth year at Purdue?
I think it kind of goes with what we've been talking about. I really do love the community. I love the people. I love my teammates. I've had an awesome experience, one that I couldn't have, like, again, what we talked about, really probably couldn't have imagined it could have gone how it has. So I just, it felt like a great decision. I love where I am. I'd probably stay longer if they let me, but eventually they're going to kick me out. So, it's going to be hopefully another great year, but, I'm just trying to soak in these memories and these experiences while I can.
I'm looking forward to seeing you play in 2022. I'm also going to try to put in a call to Danny Ford and the Burlsworth selection committee because, my goodness, man, nobody's doing it like you're doing it. I'm excited to see what you're capable of this season.
Thanks very much, RJ. Appreciate you.
I'm pleased to be joined by Purdue head coach Jeff Brom. Coach, how you doing?
Very good.
I want to start with a positive. 9 wins last year. Best winning season that you had since 2003. What's it going to take to get to 11 for the first time in school history, Coach?
Well, it's going to take a lot of hard work. Every year is a new year, and with a new roster. And playing in our conference is always a challenge. It's great competition. There's great football players. They're well coached, and we're just going to have to find ways to improve as an overall team. I think the fact that we were able to improve on the defense and on special teams last year, and then be efficient on offense helped us get better. But we've got to push the envelope there. I think we have to become a more dominant team on defense. We've got to figure out ways to be tougher in the trenches. And I think if we do that, then hopefully we can try to inch our way up.
I thought it was really interesting how you guys went through 2021 with the quarterback derby going all the way through, and then you settle on Aiden O'Connell. What does it mean for you to have a 6-year senior coming back that you know you can hand the keys to and don't have to worry about?
Well, we're excited to watch Aiden play this year. He did a great job last year. Really, the last half of the season played at an elite level, put up great numbers, helped us win some big football games, really was accurate with the football, made some big-time throws. He's a man of great faith, a great teammate who works really hard, and we were fortunate to kind of get to that point. He had to overcome some of his head coach's decisions not playing him early on, but we got through that. He's taken the reins and run with it. He's coming back for another year, and I think he's worked extremely hard. He realizes that he's got to try to ante up and play even better, and there's great challenges with that. But we're excited.
I had to talk with Aiden for a little bit, and I was telling him that the producer of this show is a Tennessee alumna. Do you have anything you'd like to say to her about that game against her alma mater?
Well, it was a great football game. It was exciting. They had a lot of fans, a lot of orange in the stadium. They were into the game. Tennessee had a great year. They really did some really good things. In every football game, the luck has to be on your side. We had a little bit on our side. We hung in there. It was a back-and-forth game, especially in the fourth quarter. A lot of fireworks. We just happened to kind of have the ball bounce our way, and our guys play hard to the end and come up with a winning field goal. But I think anytime you can play in an atmosphere with all the Tennessee fans and our fans in attendance, it was a sellout. It was a lot of fun.
I was excited. I'm an avid neutral watching that game, and it was fireworks. I saw two offenses going at it. I'm familiar with Coach Heupel from his days at Oklahoma and Central Florida. Obviously understand what your offense is capable of, but it seems to go to another level in games that are close and games that absolutely matter to folks like me, neutral fans. I'm talking about Aiden going for, I think it's an average of 430 yards against Ohio State, Iowa. I want to say Michigan State's in there too. What is it about that offense or even your players that forces them to rise up at these high pressure moments?
Well, we've got a great collection of young men that have a chip on their shoulder. They think they've been overlooked. They're out to prove themselves. They're working really hard. And anytime you get a chance to kind of get on the big stage, they want to prove how good they really are. So I just think from a coaching staff standpoint, we do a really good job of staying aggressive, giving our players a chance to succeed, allowing them to be aggressive, and really just kind of swinging for the fences. And sometimes you're going to miss, but sometimes you're going to hit. And our guys have really stepped forward in some big games, especially this past year. It gives your team life. It proves to your team that, hey, if we do all these small things correctly, we can play at a high level, and it gives you hope. So we just got to build on that. It's got to become more consistent. We have to find ways to do it each and every year with a couple new pieces, and that's the challenge.
I'm recalling that 2021 saw an average attendance in West Lafayette about 56,000 folks, and I believe that y'all renewed over 90% of your season tickets. People are into Boilermaker football in a way that they haven't been, it seems like, for about 10 years. Do you feel that at all?
Without question, our fan support has been outstanding. They're into the game. They love playing competitive football and now winning some of those games. They support our players. We have a great student turnout as well that gets to the game early. They're into the game. They stay late. And they're excited when you win. So anytime you get that type of support, which we have had at a really high level, it makes your players and coaches want to work that much harder. You understand how much it means to them, and you want to go the extra mile to get that done. But that has made playing in Ross State Stadium a whole lot of fun.
I go back to the 2018 game against Ohio State where it felt like you really turned some heads, and you had this guy that wasn't that good, and Rondale Moore, maybe you know something about what I'm talking about here, and then you turn out David Bell. Who do you expect to turn out this year? Who can I put my money on to be, hey, that guy's going to be the guy to watch Purdue?
We've been fortunate to have some really good players, and they've done a great job, and fortunately for them, they've been able to go on and play in the NFL and hopefully make a lot of money and have a lot of fun doing that. But this year, we do have some inexperience at the receiver position, but I think we have a whole lot of depth, a lot of young men that are out to showcase what they're all about. They've practiced well, maybe haven't gotten the game reps they would like, but I think they're going to be ready to go. Fortunately for us, we throw the football a lot. We work it a lot. We've seen what they can do on the practice field, but it's just got to translate. And you got to do it against great opponents. You got to do it in the spotlight. You got to be able to do it when things aren't going well. And that's where you see where these guys react and what they're made of. But we do have a good nucleus of young men, whether it's Brock Thompson coming back off his bowl win. We have Charlie Jones and Tyrone Tracy, who transferred from Iowa, that'll play a lot of football for us. We have TJ Sheffield, who did a really good job for us last year. And then a handful of others that are newcomers that we've seen do some good things in practice. So we're excited about that position.
Last one about your team, transition to some national topics, Coach. But I understand that you were the dude that was able to pull out another Karlaftis. You know, what do you know about Yanni and his world championship in judo? My goodness.
Well, Yanni's very talented as well. Unfortunately, his first 2 years here, he's gotten injured. Last year, he had a severe hamstring that wiped him out for 6 months. This summer, he got injured again, so he's a little behind the 8 ball. But you know what? He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's moved to our hybrid defensive end position, so he can kind of play linebacker and defensive end and rush the quarterback. And he'll be a really productive player. He'll be in the rotation. He's just got to continue to work and battle through some things. But I think once he gets on the field, he'll be able to showcase that.
Looking forward to it, Coach. You're also getting a lot bigger in the Big Ten. A couple teams from Los Angeles decided they want to play Midwest football. How do you feel about that?
We're excited. I think anytime you get new additions to the conference, it's new opponents. These two have tremendous history and tradition, won a lot of football games, national championships, playing great venues in a great market. So I think the whole Big Ten, and I can speak for ourselves, we're excited to get to that point. It'll create some interesting trips for our team and our fans to be a part of that. And I think they'll add great value. So I think, it's already very competitive. It's already a very tough conference, and now you're going to have two really good football teams.
Coach, this is open-ended, simple, but please indulge me, take it in any direction you would like. How do you feel about the future of college football?
I'm excited about the future of college football. Obviously, there's some uncertainties that you're not for sure which direction it's going to go, but I think there's, a mass of people that want good things to happen. They love the game of football. They love college sports. There's enough leaders out there to figure this thing out. There's going to be change. There's going to be a few hiccups, but I think as long as people, continue to work through it, understand that we're just trying to make the game better, good things normally happen.
Purdue coach Jeff Braun, thank you for taking the time, Coach.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to be joined by Illinois head coach Brett Bielema. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, RJ. Thank you.
Now, I want to really take a light and shine it on these Minnesota and Penn State games from last year.
Gotcha.
But I also am not on your football team, and I don't have to listen to you talk to me about it. I genuinely am very excited about it. Coach, how did you think that it went for the folks outside the doors?
Well, I think last year in general, we started off the year with a win over Nebraska, and our kids kind of got caught up in the moment. I think they thought it was just going to be easy, right? And the next week we got hit in the head with UTSA and kind of lost our way for a little bit. But really that Penn State game would win at Penn State. Liked the way they played, but then next week we came back, lost to Rutgers, didn't do our best, I felt, and then went on the road and beat Minnesota at Minnesota, a big West rivalry game, and I think that really put our guys in motion that they know, hey, if we do what we're capable of doing, we practice the right way, we can get some wins. And then to come full circle at the end of the year to play Northwestern, they hadn't beat them in 6 years. For us to play that way at the end of the year got me excited about where we're going.
That game in particular, I thought, encapsulated the 2021 season for you, because you talking about we got kicked by UTSA. It's a good football team, Coach.
They were.
It's a very good football team.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing going up and down your schedule when I went and did the wins and losses. When nearly every team y'all played is pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about your team, knowing how they played against Northwestern, but also taking into account how they took those lumps?
I like the growth they had, and I've always said this, right? You, in life, through my 52 years on this earth, you actually live and learn more through adversity and moments of failure than you do in moments of success. And I think our guys know that, right? They understood, hey, we went through the highs of the highs, but the lows, the things that caused us pain, right, are the things we got to avoid. I talk all the time to our players about more games are lost than won. And I realize everybody wins a game, but a lot of times it's a team can't sustain what they need to do for a long period of time enables them to win games. Penalties, mental errors, and turnovers are the easiest way to lose a game, and we have to eradicate those from our program.
There's one thing I know to be true about you as a head coach. You're going to run the ball, and you're going to demand great defense. I know you got a tailback in Chase Brown that can carry the load. Do you have a guy that you think can run that offense yet, though?
I do. I think our quarterback play is going to be critical. Last year we had obviously Brandon Peters as our starter, but he got knocked out in the first quarter, and Art Sikowski comes in and does a nice job to get us a win. He played a lot of good football. Unfortunately, got injured in the Penn State game. BP comes back in and finishes the year off for us very, very well. But I'm excited about Chase, Josh McCray. But on defense, I really feel that a lot of what we did a year ago carries over into this year. We got a lot of players back, but also just the demeanor and the way they play.
I've enjoyed getting to know anything at all about Coach Walters. Can you tell me maybe a story that revealed himself to you?
You know, he's a very I think everybody, because of his size and his stature, but he is.
Don't I know it, Coach?
Exactly. He's an extremely competitive on game day. He loses his mind. Usually I'm the guy that they got to pull off the field, and I know how many times I had to pull him off just because he gets so in the moment, gets volatile. Try to coach up our players and sometimes the refs, so I think what people wouldn't realize, because he is so kind of a soft-spoken guy, great demeanor, he's a very intense game day person.
Coach, we are in the middle of some torrential changes in college football. A couple of them have come straight to your doorstep. We got a couple teams in Los Angeles that want to play Midwest football. How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I've been in this league a long time, so I remember being in this league when they added Penn State. One-man show, but they moved it to 11, right? And then all of a sudden we added Nebraska. That was when I was a head coach at Wisconsin. They were literally our first. They were first Big Ten game was at our place. And then to come full circle when they added Maryland and Rutgers to get us to the 14 we have, and now to add these two, I think to throw us into another time zone, another part of the country, it just brings tremendous value overall to our conference.
My last one for you, Coach. Open-ended, indulge me, take it any direction you want. How do you feel about the future of college football? You know,
I'm excited. I think there's never been a time where so many different moving parts have been a part of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. What I really want to cautiously, optimistically guard, right, is our student athletes. Sometimes you have to, protect your own, right? And there's so many positive things with NIL and all that goes into that, and the transfer portal. What I worry is we have too many moving parts. We've got a 7th grade science project go on steroids, right? Like you're supposed to have one variable, right? Whether it's heat, cold, a chemical, do something, and then you know what the variable is, right? Well, right now, we just got so many moving parts, 85 scholarships, expansion, portal, NIL. Like, I don't know if the cause and effect is there. And I'm really worried. We've done such a good job in college athletics of graduating our players, right? Getting those graduate rates up there so that when you recruit somebody and bring them to your school, you can guarantee, unless they want to screw it up, that they're going to get a degree, right? And I worry that some of these moving parts are going to make it difficult for guys to transfer with credits and graduate them on a specific timeline. So that's the part that I'm really hoping they can protect.
Illinois coach Brett Bielema, thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you, appreciate it. ILL.
I'm pleased to be joined by Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, sir. I'm looking at what you did in 2021, and I'm excited because I remember your first stint at Rutgers football. I know how this ends. It occurs to me that you have a couple of coordinators that also probably feel the same way. Can you tell us about, what Sean Gleason has to do in 2021 and why you went and got this dude from Maine who's my age running your defense and Joe Harris-Mack?
Well, both those guys, we're blessed to have both Sean and Joe on our staff. Sean is an incredibly bright young football coach with great energy, great passion, connects with the players, and very, very creative. And Joe, very much the same. Joe Harris-Mack comes to us most recently from University of Minnesota, but you mentioned he was the head coach at the University of Maine, and excellent football coach. Same thing, really bright, connects with the players, and I said we're blessed to have two elite coordinators, in my opinion.
I'm curious about your relationship with Joe. As watched a lot of interviews of him at Maine, saw a couple at Minnesota, not so much at Rutgers just yet. However, he seems to keep just growing up with each one of these jobs, and it seems like his confidence is coming through in each one of these interviews. There's only so much you can get from a conversation, but I would like your insight into just what it takes to be defensive coordinator for you at Rutgers.
Well, I'm a defensive guy over the years. The longer you're a head coach, you become an all-phase guy, right? But Joe's excellent. He doesn't need me looking over his shoulder. We talk, but he leads the defensive staff, and he does a great job. We've only been together for, less than, 7 months, but I'm very impressed. We haven't been in the battle together yet, so that we will see, but I'm fully confident that he's going to do a tremendous job. And Joe and Sean are both future head coaches.
Coach, you've been around for some time at this level. I wonder, what do you think about USC, UCLA wanting to play football in the Midwest?
I think it's great. Great for our league. You take a great league in the Big Ten and you even make it stronger. Add on top of that, we got from New York to LA. We got the whole country covered. You wake up in the morning on a Saturday, you're watching Big Ten football. You go to bed at night, you're watching Big Ten football. What's better than that? And again, the landscape is changing, and hats off to our league. We made sure that we stayed in that 1-2 race, and that's the important part for all of us.
One of the things that I hear from coaches is control the things that you can control, adapt to the situation as it is, not how you would like it to be. With all this change going on, are you having to take your own advice there?
100%. But, I think that's in everything. Figure it out. Things change. You either adapt or you die. Well, we don't plan on dying, so let's adapt. And, whether it's NIL, it's transfer portal, it's leagues that are changing their configuration. That's what we get paid to do, and that's what we get paid to teach. Handle the things you can handle and figure it out.
Along those lines, Coach, a lot of change just over the last 3-4 years. Introduction to the transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, and now the changing of these leagues. How do you feel about the future of college football?
Here's what I believe. Any one of those would be a big change. All three at the same time is a seismic shift. I think this is a critical time in the future of college athletics, college football for sure. And the decision makers, the leadership of college football, I think are setting the path for the next 30 or 40 years. So we really need to make sure that we're doing this right. The professionalization of college athletics has occurred. It's official. So you're not putting that genie back in the bottle. Now, how are we going to better handle it? The NFL, having coached in that league, they have a lot of experience at professionalization of football, and they've got a pretty good formula that works smoothly. Right now, we don't have a formula. It is, all over the map. And I think, again, as the leadership of college football, we need to figure this out quickly.
We grew up in a decentralized sport, which is to say the regionality of what we do is what made it special, and we're trying to come up with a way to centralize it and to make it a little bit more efficient. Lay it out in that way to say, I got into my job because of what was in the past. I assume you got into your job because of what was in the past. Now that we're here, I still want to see how this ends. Is there a part of you that wants to see how this ends all the way through?
Yeah, I think I'm coaching now for the same reason I got into coaching 35 years ago. I enjoy developing young people, helping them become the best version of who they are and who they can become. And I love the game of football. I think it teaches so much. It's the only game I know that brings together people from so many different backgrounds and puts them under the crucible that brings them really close. And you look at the friends that are kids that we've coached over the years, friends they have for life. And when I say friends, guys that they can rely on, guys that they can go to in a time of need. I don't see that happening very much in this world, but it's still happening in football.
That is one of the blessings that I've heard from many of you coaches like yourself is, hey, we still love football and we still love what it provides the players. Happy to know that you're still sticking with us, Coach. Greg Schiano, thank you so much for taking time, Coach.
My pleasure.